really honoured actually to be invited to speak today at Creative Mornings, because I've enjoyed the Creative Morning sessions that I've been to, quite a few in the last year in Leamington at the Pump Rooms, and I would really love in an ideal world to be actually having this session in Foundry Wood. It would be great to be taking you on a tour of the Woodland in person, and maybe one day in the future we can host a Creative Mornings there, and when we're also able to open the Woodland again, because unfortunately it's currently closed. Yeah, I really welcome everybody to come up and visit with me. I'm happy to show you around, or anyone really. So people might be familiar, with Foundry Wood and where it is, but for those of you who are not, it's right on the edge of Leamington here. You can see this green triangle of land that's between Victoria Park and just north of the Vitsu building. And it's wedged between two railway lines and Prince's Drive. It's quite a small space, but it's actually not always been a woodland. This is a photo from around the turn of the century, which shows that the land that Foundry Wood is now on used to actually be old railway sidings. You can see in this map the triangle kind of in the middle that shows where the railway sidings were. And they were used to deliver supplies to the foundries, which again you can see there's the Imperial Stoneworks where the Vitsu building is now. And this map, which is this photograph, which I think is just brilliant, from 1937 from Britain from above, again shows on the left-hand side where Foundry Wood is currently, that triangle of land. And you can see all those railway tracks and the carriages there. And on the right-hand side, the old foundry. And so this was what Foundry Wood used to be, really up until around the 1950s. And for whatever reason, sometime around then, the railway sidings were removed from that bit of land. The foundry still continued to operate next door right up until the Ford Foundry in 2007. But whilst the railway tracks had been removed, the nature and wildlife was really just allowed to flourish and able to take over. And this is sort of looking at the entrance to Foundry Wood. This is from back in 2012, when we didn't have access to it. No one could really get in. You can see there's no cycle path or footpath running along the front like there is now. And the natural vegetation of sycamore and hawthorn was just basically allowed to grow up, and this is what the woodland looks like. It's a very scrubby, sort of dense woodland that literally grew out of minimal human disturbance and minimal interaction from the public. So in 2007, the Ford Foundry closed, and a developer came along looking at the land and was quite interested in doing something on the site. But interestingly, someone within the council had the vision to say that actually this bit of land, this triangle, shouldn't be developed on. It should be protected for the community and preserved as a community woodland. The council themselves didn't want to take that on. I mean, it's got some challenges. It's wedged between railway lines and a road. There's quite a steep slope at the entrance. And they were talking to community organisations to see what they wanted to do. And I was working for Action 21 at the time. Some people might know the local environmental charity. And we were looking at possibly delivering this project. But unfortunately, we lost a major contract in 2010, and Action 21 had to make a number of staff redundant, including myself and my colleague Rick, who's here in this photo. But he and I were really interested in still delivering Foundry Wood and other projects in the area, and so we set up our Achieving Results in Communities as a vehicle, really, as a community organisation to deliver the Foundry Wood community woodland. And this photo is from one of the first visits we had on site, and we went and talked to a lot of people really to see what they wanted on site. Actually, and one of the other women in here, who may be familiar, Kath on the left-hand side, we've been working together now at Foundry Wood for the last sort of 9 years. And meeting Kath was one of those sort of serendipitous moments where we were just outside a community centre in South Leamington, and she said, I've just left my job and I'm looking to get involved in woodlands. And I said, well, that's interesting. I've just started a project where I've got to set up a woodland, and I don't really know anything about it. So, so together we sort of set about creating this space with lots of community engagement. I think I sort of mentioned already that people wanted to see a space that combined sort of wildlife and environmental education. We were talking earlier about the fact that we're really fortunate in Leamington and Warwick that we have some beautiful green spaces, so many lovely gardens and parks, but we don't have a lot of really wild space. So trying to have a wild space in an urban environment was always kind of a challenge. We had to do a lot of clearing of the rubbish. You can see here from the old railways, a lot of this cabling was just strewn around site. So with hundreds of volunteers and many hours of manpower, we moved a lot of this rubbish, well, all of the rubbish really, off the site. But we wanted to use the natural features on the woodland as much as possible, again with sort of minimal disturbance. And one of the first things we did was plant this willow hedge along the northern boundary of the triangle, a bit that goes against the railway line, just to provide a bit of a screen, which looked like this 6 months later, and now looks like this. So that I took this photo last night, actually, and this has really meant that we're able to have, you know, as I say, a bit of a visual screen from the railway, but also enhance the variety and the biodiversity in the woodlands. And if you go actually behind the willow hedge, there is the railway line going north towards Coventry and Manchester. So if you take that line and look out the window of the train on the left hand side, you'll see Foundry Wood. I mentioned that a lot of the work took place with volunteers. Again, you know, I think with a lot of connections that I've had in the community through Action 21, but everybody loves getting involved in something in Leamington. We've got a great community of creative people and really passionate people who want to be involved in these projects. So we put in the pathways and planted trees, worked with school groups and the university, business groups, all sorts of people actually helped over sort of 18 months. We were setting up the site and making it accessible. And we also put in some structures so that the space could be used as we sort of found from the consultation and the community engagement, to have a space where people could engage and spend time and have an educational element. And we're very fortunate that Johnny Walker, who's in this photo on the right, who's a local timber framer, came along and helped us to erect this outdoor classroom, which looks like this. And again, with volunteers led by an expert, we were able to build this classroom. And using some of the natural features here, you can see the railway sleepers in the front that we've used. Well, I say natural features, the features that were left on site for us, so we used them in building the classroom. The railway sleepers for seating and for some of the walls as well. And then we opened to the public in 2013, and had a lovely open day and continued to run all sorts of activities there. I am the chair of the Friends of Foundry Wood, which is basically a steering group who manage the behind the scenes and the day-to-day for the woodland, because it is a managed site. One of the things about finding a balance between wildlife and sort of human intervention is allowing wildlife to have that space sometimes. And actually at the moment, while we've had to close the woodland because of social distancing, it's actually allowing the wildlife to flourish. So our steering group look after the wood. We, manage volunteer days and also monitor the wildlife that we see on site, the different ecology that is evolving really over the years. Some of you may have been to Foundry Wood in recent years and have enjoyed pizza in the earth oven. This is a highlight, I know, for many people. And in normal times, once a month, we fire up the pizza oven, which again was built by the community and decorated with these mosaics. Yeah, once a month you can come up and enjoy pizza in the wood on a Sunday, and you know, we hope we can get back to doing those soon. Those of you who maybe not been to the Woodland recently might remember the Foundry wood piano. A few years ago, Kath, who lives in South Leamington, had an old piano that was beyond use and beyond repair. Her and her housemates decided to push it up to the Woodland one day through Victoria Park, and it basically stayed in the woodland, hidden amongst the bushes for a long time, delighting anyone who came across it. But also, eventually, as with all things, nature took its toll, and it's no longer there. But it's a lovely little feature for a while there for Foundry Wood. And yeah, I mean, a lot of things that we've incorporated on site have been brought in by the community. I mean, this woodland is a community resource, really, and we encourage people to use it and share their skills. And actually, this is the chap who did the carvings in Jefferson Gardens, which you've probably seen out of the tree trunks there. He made some benches for us out of these oak logs, and inspired by nature. One of them is an oak leaf and one of them is a stag beetle. When he was carving them, he found a stag beetle larvae in the wood and thought that would be, you know, a nice inspiration really for his design. Yeah, when we have all sorts of activities in the woodland now, you know, school visits and scouts and guides. Theatre performances are a highlight, I know, for many people in the summer. And I think the photo on the bottom right is a spoon carving activity. So yeah, we do lots of outdoor and natural crafts as well as collaborating with other groups locally. This is where Leamington Underground Cinema came and hosted a few films in the wood. I think this one was Evil Dead. We've also had Blair Witch, so some interesting choices that were really kind of appropriate as well, and also brought a different audience into the wood, which is really one of the aims we have, is trying to bring as many different people from the community into the woodlands to enjoy a natural space. So yeah, that was yeah, we've had some fun with theatre. I mean, the history of the woodland is really interesting, and if you get a chance to visit, you'll see on this railway wagon that we restored all of the information about the wood, and we put this railway wagon on site just because of the link to the heritage of the site, the railways next door, and yeah, basically restored it from this to this. So that's definitely worth a visit. I was going to talk a little bit more about one of our main projects that takes place in the woodland, which is ecotherapy. And I know there are some people here on the call today who come along to ecotherapy, so it's really lovely to see you. And ecotherapy is a session that takes place every week in the woodland, and it was actually set up by Tree, a member of the community, whose name is Tree, very appropriately, about 5 years ago, who came up to Foundry Wood. She was struggling with her mental health and, you know, suffering from anxiety, and really found that the woodland gave her comfort and wanted to share that feeling with other people. And so she started hosting tea and talk sessions that you probably heard of through mental health awareness, and other people started coming along. She found out about the 5 ways to well-being, which people also may have heard of. You can see listed here, and has incorporated those into the session. So every week now on a Tuesday, anyone can come along, really. Everyone is welcome. But we run activities that are based around the 5 ways to well-being. So connecting with nature in a natural environment, but also connecting with each other. We'll be active, so we might do a woodland maintenance activity, or just, you know, coming up to the wood or walking or cycling up there is a physical activity. We'll take notice of the change of seasons, of each other, of what's going on. we're always learning, we're always sharing a skill. People are very creative and are very talented and happy to share a skill given the opportunity. We've had all sorts of activities and give, which is a crucial part of everything. We'll share a meal together. People give their time and listen to each other as well. So this is a photo of the ecotherapy group making the mosaic sign, which is around the entrance of the Woodland. So yeah, it's a really wonderful group, and actually we've been carrying on via Zoom in the last few weeks, which has been challenging, but it's also been really amazing and inspiring, and people are still finding ways to connect with each other as well as connect with nature in this sort of difficult time. Nature, I guess, is always reclaiming, and we were talking a bit about this earlier, about the resilience of nature, really. This is a photo from a bit of the land that's next to Foundry Wood, between Foundry Wood and Vitsu and the Morrison's supermarket. And it's actually owned by Network Rail, and it's where they've left the railway tracks in place still, but the trees have, again, found a way, nature has found a way to literally grow up between the railway tracks. And I love this. This is a lot of silver birch, which is a pioneer species that always finds a way. And we're actually in a conversation at the moment with Network Rail about getting access to this bit of land so that we can expand Foundry Wood and into the adjacent land. But we want to find a way to still retain some of those sort of industrial features, but also have the natural world. So I love this. It's just very symbolic, but also I love this literal sort of depiction of nature reclaiming from the natural world and sort of coexisting as well, which is something I think we can all learn from at the moment. I could, talk forever about Foundry Wood, really, and happy to answer more questions and talk about it a bit later, but I just wanted to mention briefly some of the other projects that we do as ARC, because we do a lot around, well, basically transforming neglected or underutilized spaces with people involving the community and to benefit mental and physical health. And another project which people may have seen in South Leamington is the Packington Place Pocket Park. It's a little space that we've created raised beds and put in flowers and planting, but also the mosaics that actually run around the edge of the planters spell everything springs from nature. And I think that's a really lovely message and something worth appreciating if you get a chance to stop by. And we've also been working with the council on a bit of land, the New Street Burial Ground, which they own, and again, a neglected green space really on New Street that we've planted and interpreted the heritage and the history, and encouraged more wildlife and wildflowers there, and also made it a space that people can enjoy, a little oasis there. We also run activities around more deeper sort of woodland connection and woodland well-being. This is out at a farm at Tallis Wood and out at Radford Semele, and it's an opportunity sort of building on the concept of ecotherapy, where people are able to connect a bit more deeply with nature and with themselves. So that's another activity that we run as ARC. I always find it difficult to find a way to end these really presentations, because, as I say, there's lots to say, but this is a photo again just taken fairly recently at Foundry Wood, showing the beautiful May blossoms. And I just really want to say that, we will come out of this. We are resilient. Nature is resilient. Nature adapts. We will be back, and I invite all of you to come up to Foundry Wood sometime and share in the beautiful space that we have there. And thank you very much for inviting me to speak today.